Welcome to The Project. Tonight, the legend himself, Tom Cruise. A side of him you've never seen before and how he still manages to surprise despite decades at the top.
The cutting-edge clinical trial offering hope to paraplegics, breakthrough technology restoring movement, all just by thinking about it.
Plus, flipping their way onto the world stage, Australia's best in cheerleading join us to celebrate their big international win.
And why ChatGPT prompted a woman to divorce her husband and why she followed through. Also, the husband doesn't know yet, so keep watching to find out if it's you.
Wow,
That's a hook, isn't it?
Not as good as the Oasis thing, but it's almost
it's
as good.
good.
We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation, and she's back from her cruise. It's Prodigy.
Thank you. Talk about the assignment of a lifetime, flown to Tokyo to spend time with Mr. Cruise.
Yes, and have been fortunate enough over my career to interview him a couple of times. And the thing with Tom Cruise is he is genuinely very, very lovely, but also very generous with his time. And I can reveal here, generous with the scoops. Take a look.
Oh. Final is in the title, that word. Is this the last that we've seen of Ethan Hunt?
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, stay watching. Stay watching. It's coming up on the show.
You were sitting, he was...
What a great sound effect.
You were sitting, he was standing, right? So you could get the eye level correct.
That's right, so we could look at each other directly in the eyes. Yes. Tom Cruise coming up later on in the show. Very exciting.
Wait for that. All right, let's jump into tonight's top stories now. And more evidence from a mushroom expert at Erin Patterson's murder trial today. Dr. Camille Truong says she found no signs of death cap mushrooms in leftovers Erin claimed were from the fatal lunch. The prosecution has argued the leftovers were different to the beef Wellington she served her relatives. The manager of a local tip also testified that a food dehydrator was found in e-waste 2 days after CCTV showed a woman in a red car dropping off an item. Patterson has pleaded not guilty, denying she deliberately poisoned her in-laws.
The family of a Queensland man missing in eastern Ukraine is still holding out hope that he's alive. Former Labourer Caleb List was reportedly killed while fighting against Russian forces last month, but his death is yet to be confirmed. If it's true, the 25-year-old would be the second Australian killed in Ukraine this year alone. Volunteer Nick Parsons was killed last week while clearing landmines.
He wasn't going there because he was politically motivated. He was going there because he thought he could help. We do hope that he may have been taken prisoner by the Russian forces and that he might be in a POW camp somewhere.
Well, from today, Woolworths is cutting the price of more than 400 grocery staples by an average of 10%. It's part of the supermarket giant's bid to win back customers amid the cost of living crisis and bad press around allegations of price gouging. The discounts are expected to remain in place until at least 2026, prompting suggestions it could spark a supermarket price war.
After almost 10 years, Kim Kardashian has again come face-to-face with the men who allegedly bound and gagged her in a Paris hotel. An emotional day in court over the robbery that changed her life forever. An emotional moment for Kim Kardashian. The reality star told a French court she thought she was going to die at the hands of armed bandits during a $20 million jewellery heist at her Paris hotel in 2016. Facing her alleged attackers for the first time while giving evidence, she told one of them that she forgave him after he expressed regret. But she also testified that his apology didn't change the emotion, feelings and trauma that she experienced after being tied up and threatened with a gun.
What they did to her, it was violent, it was terrible, and it changed the arc of her life.
And the ex-girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs has cried as she delivered graphic testimony on the second day of his sex trafficking trial. A heavily pregnant Cassie Ventura told the court Combs was controlling and abusive. The 38-year-old describing feeling humiliated during degrading, drug-fueled sex sessions dubbed freak-offs that she says lasted up to 4 days. Ventura also testified she feared for her safety if she refused to take part. The jury was again shown this hotel security footage from 2016. When asked how many times Combs had thrown her like that, she responded, "Too many to count." Well, let's get more on that story now with legal affairs reporter Megan Cuniff. Megan, how did Cassie describe these freak-offs?
She described them as long and degrading. She said the longest was 4 days. 4 days of this that it went on. It was grueling And Diddy was very demanding during this. And it was also just a lot of sexual activity.
Did Cassie talk about any particular moments that were traumatic for her?
She did do a narrative for the now infamous video, at least in the United States, that CNN published last year of Diddy assaulting her in a hallway of a Los Angeles hotel room in 2016. And that really caught a lot of attention. And this was before he was arrested when the video came out, and he issued a tearful apology. But it was really the beginning of a lot of troubles for him. And we heard testimony from Cassie about that video. Jurors saw the video before she testified, and then they saw it again during her testimony. And she testified about how she was trying to escape one of these freak-offs. And I think that's really important testimony because, of course, the defense here is that this was consensual and that she was a participant in all of this, so a willing participant.
So just to be clear, because I've been trying to understand the relevance of that video to this trial, is she saying that that's what happened when she tried to escape? So that's how that sort of violence is connected to the whole freak-off allegation?
Exactly, because behavior has been described in some encounters, overall encounters, as consensual, but her overall point is that she was being coerced through the whole relationship and manipulated and through violence and other activities. And they've heard about the violence from her and then also from another witness.
Well, we also heard from male escort Daniel Phillip today. What did we learn from him?
Yes, he testified about many encounters that he'd had with Cassie, paid encounters that were witnessed by Diddy and under the direction of Diddy. And he testified to hearing abuse, physical abuse, obvious physical abuse. He could hear Diddy slapping her in another room, and he kind of gave more weight to the idea that she was under his control.
And how did Diddy react in the court during Cassie's testimony?
Diddy did turn to actually see her walk in, and his lawyers had tried to make it so that she would actually be on the witness stand when the jury came into the courtroom. So the jury would not see the kind of dramatic entrance that you get with a witness. But the judge obviously said no, because she walked in when the jury was already seated, and he turned and looked at her. Throughout the testimony, though, he really didn't have much visible reaction, and I'm sure he's aware that it would not look good for him to be smirking or rolling his eyes or anything like that. But a lot of people said that he was taking notes, whispering with his attorneys, but there was no real obvious reaction throughout the testimony, which had to have been purposeful.
It is amazing, Megan, how explosive this has been already, given how long this trial looks like it will be. Thank you so much for your thoughts tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And also, the Menendez brothers are a step closer to freedom after an LA judge reduced their sentences, making them eligible for parole. Lyle and Eric have been serving life without parole for the murders of their parents back in 1989. Their trial was the first to be broadcast live on TV. A recent Netflix drama and separate documentary also revived interest in their case. After spending more than 3 decades behind bars, today's sentence reduction could see them released as soon as next month. It's pretty wild when you think that these brothers were essentially rotting away in prison before Ryan Murphy decided to make a series documenting their life. Obviously, the documentary that followed put them front and centre again, kind of on the world stage. And since then, new evidence has been tendered or discovered, and also the way they kind of treat young offenders has also changed. So this might be the chance for them to be free. It's also interesting to note that the wider Menendez family, they're actually wanting the brothers to be released. That they've been model prisoners within the system, and that they deserve their freedom. So we shall see.
I find it so fascinating that you get the spotlight, a new spotlight, and put it onto these old cases, and you can see what happens now.
Also,
it's
one bald brother, one full head of hair. Fascinating. Lots to take away from all of it.
All right, we'll see you after the break.
That's, in my opinion, that's what I found most interesting.
Okay. More insights from Sam after this. Welcome back, watching Project.
Some more news now, and Joel Couchy's former psychiatrist has conceded she was wrong to suggest he was not psychotic when he went on a stabbing rampage at Bondi Westfield last year. Giving evidence at the coronial inquest, she denied she failed by not passing on his full medical records to other practitioners. She also testified Couchy never disclosed an interest in knives and there were no signs he'd commit an act of violence.
Major sporting coup for Melbourne. US Masters champion Rory McIlroy has signed a 2-year deal to play at the Australian Open. He'll play at Royal Melbourne this December alongside the likes of Cam Smith, Min Woo Lee and Adam Scott, then at Kingston Heath in 2026. The Victorian government won't say how much the deal will cost taxpayers, but Tiger Woods got $3 million for his visit in 2009.
And would you end your marriage if AI told you to? Would you? Well, a Greek woman did after a coffee reading by ChatGPT.
What?
She uploaded photos of the grounds from her and her husband's coffee cups and asked for an interpretation. The response, ChatGPT saw infidelities, specifically her husband fantasising about a woman whose name started with E and who was trying to destroy their family. So, without a shred of evidence, she filed for divorce.
Hell yeah, queen.
Her husband of 12 years only found out when her lawyer called.
What?
Apparently, she'd also been kind of dabbling in astrology for the year before that.
What a surprise that is. I think ChatGPT did this fella a favour, surely.
Really?
Right.
You think best to get rid of his wife
Well,
right now?
that's not grounds for... Like, my girlfriend's almost broken up with me when I've had coffee breath, but not just because she had a look in my coffee. Did you
mean to say grounds for divorce as a coffee grounds joke?
Yeah, no, it was one for the real players at home. And I was hoping someone would notice it. And you get my humour.
Yeah, we're on the same
level.
You got it.
Well, speaking on being on my level, you'll like this, Waleed. On Monday's show, I cracked a little joke about a certain tiny Ma and Pa corner store. Now, let's have a look at the joke.
7-Eleven, you can't go wrong.
Okay, right, well, and you're going to wash it down with their signature 3-day-old sushi? What are you talking about, bro? Haha, good one, Sam. Got it. Red hot stuff. Now, turns out we're living in the age of snowflakes. They're upset, OK?
Who? 7-Eleven upset?
Yeah, so for the record, I don't hate 7-Eleven. In fact, I'm kind of pro 7-Eleven. There's a lot I like about it. Personally, I love that the meat pies are somehow completely frozen, yet also hotter than the face of the sun. I don't know how you do it. I love that no matter which store you go into, there's always a weird guy hanging out the front. It's like, bro, they don't sell vapes. What are you doing here? I also love that all the newspapers are sold out by 9 a.m, except the Australian. It's like, good try, I'm not Steve Price. I'm not going to fall for that. So today, in a brazen attempt to win me over, 7-Eleven pathetically sent me some of their sushi.
What?
Oh.
Which I naturally ate in a montage set to St Elmo's fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why are you watching this?
No, this.
Transaction complete. You walk straight into my trap. That is how you get a free lunch.
Yeah.
No. And now I know how this works. I would also like to add that I would not be caught dead flying Qantas first class. It looks disgusting. And Lexus, I heard the leather seats in your vehicles are squeaky and the rich mahogany inlay distracts the eye. At Sam Taunton on Instagram if you think you can change my mind.
The way you ate that sushi roll was brave.
Yeah. It was brave.
Yeah.
It was brave.
Time for a break. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to The Project. Tonight, as the world remains hooked on the Leongatha mushroom murder trial, the jury heard from the first person to examine supposed leftovers from the lunch that left 3 dead and another fighting for his life. Mushroom expert Dr. Thomas May was back on the stand today, cross-examined by the defence. For nearly an hour, he was shown pictures like these and was asked to correctly identify different types of mushrooms. But Dr. May admitted,
I can't say with any degree of certainty that they're not death cap mushrooms.
He agreed the general public has a
poor ability to accurately identify mushrooms.
Next in the witness box, Dr. Camille Truong, the first expert to examine the supposed leftovers from the fatal lunch. She told the court she'd checked them at home because her office was closed.
I used a small tray and tweezers, which I also sterilised with alcohol wipes. I carefully took out the mushroom pieces onto the tray.
She'd left them in the fridge in her kitchen overnight before taking them into the office for further examination.
Did you find any signs of death cap mushrooms? No, I didn't.
The prosecution argues these leftovers were different from the poisonous meal served to lunch guests. The jury was then played footage of Erin dumping an item at the local tip 4 days after the deadly lunch. After a police request to search the tip, a worker found the item.
He said it kind of looked like a microwave dehydrator.
Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Rachael Brown is from the ABC podcast Mushroom Case Daily. She was in court again today and she joins us now from her podcast studio. Rach, let's go back to this testing the mushroom expert on different mushrooms and his ability to identify them. How did all that play out in court?
Well, you heard there, the jury heard from Dr. Thomas May today. Now, he posted on an iNaturalist website back in May 2023 a sighting of death cap mushrooms in Outram. Now, the prosecution alleges that after this posting, the next day, Erin Patterson drove to Outram. So we'll be hearing more about that over the next week and a half, I should say. But interestingly, in a strange connection in this case, Dr. Thomas May, he posted under the username on this naturalist website, Funky Tom, so a play on fungi. And it's this very person, Funky Tom, who is now being given evidence to the jury because he's such an expert on how to tell the difference in different mushroom species. And interestingly, he said, like, he's been in the industry for decades, and he said even he struggles, that there are varieties like stubble rosegill and other ones of Latin names that I'm not even going to attempt on live television that can be very confusing, that you've got to look at the stems, the rim, the base. There's all these different things to look at, but they can be quite tricky. And he said even experts can get it wrong. So he was trying to explain to the jury today. And he did say, which I pricked my ears up at, he said that when you dry death caps, they can smell very unpleasant. And it reminded me of something in the prosecution opening that Erin Patterson had allegedly said to the health department when she opened these mushrooms that she purportedly said she bought from a Chinese grocer, that they had a really funny smell. So we might hear about that over the next week as well.
Rachael, we heard as well that Erin dumping the dehydrator at the tip, that's not in dispute. But how is the defence explaining that?
We don't know yet, Sarah, because it's not the defence's turn. So we did see the CCTV vision, as you've just shown. The prosecution case is that she dumped it because it was found to have traces of death cap mushrooms in the dehydrator. But the defence, we heard of an incident that it says happened in the hospital, that Simon, her estranged husband, allegedly said to her, "Is that what you used to poison them?" Now, Simon Patterson denies this, but you might remember back in the opening for the defence put to the jury, you know, in an overwhelming situation like this, that you've cooked a meal and 4 people are in hospital, might you behave in a way that's, you know, less than graceful? Might you lie? Might you do things that look incriminating? So we might hear more about the dehydrator and that potentially how that fits into this panic that the defence mooted quite early in this case.
Rach, it seems like the entire country has an opinion on this trial. Are you finding that as well?
I am. Everyone, Georgie, that I speak to, friends, family, people in the cafe from the courthouse down the road, everyone has an opinion. And I've given this quite a lot of thought in my reporting note on crime and justice over the years. And it strikes me that society loves to grab onto the fantastical, you know, the more extraordinary elements of certain cases like this. It has Chamberlain-esque elements to me, this case, the Lindy Chamberlain trial back in the early 80s. So that's the first thing that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. And the second is that I think people are uncomfortable with the idea that it could have been an accident because it means it could happen to them. You know, the defence argument is that it was a terrible accident, that it was a tragedy. So I think a lot of people think, well, if it was an accident, you know, could that happen to me? Could I cook a meal and leave people seriously injured or dead and be on trial for murder? So it has sparked an awful lot of debate in the community. But as I should say, we haven't heard the defence case yet. We've only really heard largely one side of the story. And then we don't know yet whether the defence will put up some witnesses.
Rach, do you think that's a big part of this, that everyone's trying to solve the mystery themselves, right? That's kind of a natural human thing to do in a way, even if it's not a wise thing to do, but that's what we do. But we don't really understand that cases roll out, one side gets a go, and you see their case roll out in front of you and you get convinced by it, and then the other side hasn't had its go. Like, do you think people just don't quite have their head around the way cases work?
I think so, and I mean, we're starting to learn more about this with courts and these issues more in the media, but I think you're right. And so that's why I've kept trying to say we're still in the prosecution witnesses and, you know, try to, as the jury's been told, wait until they've heard all the evidence. Society, humans, we have a tendency to want to wrap a neat bow around things and try to cling on to things to help explain human behaviour. But sometimes there are no explanations. You know, the prosecution, as I said to you a couple of days ago, is not forwarding a motive. So it will be on the jury to look at all this evidence and try to decide whether there was intent there, whether Erin deliberately poisoned her guests, or whether this was, in fact, as the defence claims it was, a terrible accident and a tragedy.
So much to unfold. Rachael, always good to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, more news now. And Aussie swimming legend Dawn Fraser continues to defy the odds. The 87-year-old is back in the pool just 5 months after the fall in her Noosa driveway that almost claimed her life. But Dawn has revealed to 10 News First's Sharon Gadella her recovery has been her greatest challenge yet. She battled depression, lost 22 kilos, and she now has a pacemaker monitored 24 hours a day after her heart simply stopped.
Good, now that I'm back in the pool, I feel happy. I hope to get some of my strength back. It's a fight all the time. It's a fight every day, but at least I'm doing it.
Go Dawn. Dawn's new goal, to cheer on the Aussies at the 2032 Brisbane Olympics.
Difficult challenge ahead for the parents of Olympic cyclist Melissa Hoskins after her husband, Rowan Dennis, avoided jail time over the road incident that led to her death. He was given a suspended sentence so he can continue to care for their kids. Melissa's parents say they'll now try to move on and hope to maintain a relationship with their grandchildren.
And at some stage, as difficult as it's going to be, there needs to be a well-mannered relationship with Rowan so that we get access to the kids. We miss Melissa terribly. She was someone really special.
As Anthony Albanese jets off to Indonesia and Italy, it appears the Liberals are struggling to unite following yesterday's leadership ballot. Less than 24 hours after Susan Lee took the helm, a party heavyweight has offered a less than ringing endorsement. Vice President Fiona Scott suggesting Lee may not have the staying power.
I don't know. I mean, a day's a long time in politics, Carl, so...
That's not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Much confidence there. Well, you know, it could be a day. It won't be a day, I'm being cheeky. But, I mean, look, you don't know what the political tides will bring.
Hey, staying on politics, Penny Wong today chatted to the press, and I enjoyed this. She ended up doing an impression of my girlfriend when my girlfriend asked why I thought it was OK to get home at 5 a.m. after I said I'm going for one quick drink at 7 p.m. the night before.
Well, respect matters. Respect matters. Respect matters.
Oh, God, geez, I'm having PTSD flashbacks right there. Good reminder to turn your phone off, by the way, if you're in a Penny Wong press conference or if you're at the pub 7 hours after you said you'd be home.
Is that why you've got the 5 o'clock shadow?
Yeah, I slept on the couch.
Now, if hearing certain songs while driving makes you feel like you're in Fast and Furious, you are not imagining things. New research shows that music can directly affect a driver's mood and focus. Experts advise steering clear of songs that have a 120 to 125 beats per minute tempo, like Dua Lipa's Houdini or Beyonce's Formation. That's that tempo. Songs with 60 to 80 BPM, like Adele's Someone Like You, promotes safer driving.
I don't know, but like an Adele song just makes you cry. So then can you actually see the road? I mean, you know, there's so many things.
The tears make you slip off the steering wheel,
That's it.
You know?
But also people are just dancing to Formation. They're just trying to dance like Beyonce, and that's the same issue.
Well, these kids won't know about this, but do you turn the radio down if you need to park so you can concentrate.
We know about that.
If I've got to like turn it down.
Yeah, you've got to focus.
You know,
I tell you what, if Georgie Tunney's not doing that, you should start, because you've taken out 2 poles in the last 12 months.
Do you know what though? I actually didn't have the radio on for both of those incidents.
Well, you know, when you get to our age, the kids, they take over the car radio, right? And I was talking to a mate of mine, because it's like the bane of our existence. He says that his kids, they have this rule. The first one to call shotgun gets the front seat, and the one who doesn't gets to sit in the back. And his 12-year-old son always calls shotgun. His 8-year-old Passag tween always gets the back first. And she started choosing 3 Minute Silence as the first song to play in the back.
Yes. Okay, they've actually taught her too well. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've raised her too well.
But then judging by like this study that if like faster music makes you go faster, slower, so if there's no music, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
you're just stuck in the driveway.
Yeah.
Is that your parking problem?
Maybe that's what it is. I'm just that. Well, the walls do come out of nowhere. Like, they get me. So maybe that is it.
Guys, let's go to the US now, where an Amazon customer learned that getting more than you ordered isn't always a good thing.
Caught on camera, a delivery driver leaving more than just Amazon packages.
A real stinker. Tamara Bedoy got a special delivery with her Amazon package, number 2.
Just right here in front of the garage, just right there on the steps. That's where it happened.
Now, before you judge, we don't know if she ordered that or not. So let's not jump to conclusions. Now, it looks like it doesn't stop there. I kept watching the broadcast. Turns out you actually can get anything you want on Amazon.
Caught in the act twice. A delivery driver for Amazon can't seem to hold it in. On another delivery later that morning, the worker is seen urinating on the front property of a different Woodland Hills home.
I know, isn't that crazy? Look, I looked it up, and Amazon will do it cheaper and get it there quicker than anyone else in the game. So, yeah, they really can. And it's not all bad news, right? The reporter, they were just happy to be back in the old stomping ground.
They do live in a very nice area, but you may recognize the street. We were in this exact spot a couple of weeks ago for a home invasion homicide, just a couple doors down.
What?
I got to move there. What a place. If you don't get murdered, someone's going to take a dump on your front lawn. What a place to live.
Would that be her waffle stomping ground?
Even I'm like, we should go to a break after that.
I think that's a sad story, I've got a feeling. Anyway, we'll go to a break. We'll see you soon.
Sequins, pom-poms, men doing cartwheels, and no, it's not Georgie's Hens Night.
Oh,
it's cheerleading. It is serious, it's competitive, and it takes no prisoners. Actually, that time it actually sounded a lot like Georgie's Hens Night. Could it be?
2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? 9, 10, 11, 12. Who's the best in the world? Turns out it's us. Aussie cheerleaders becoming world champions. In just 2.5 minutes of tumbling, twisting and turning, the Prodigy team from Melbourne took out the top prize of the Cheerleading World Championships in Florida. 24-year-old coach April Jenkins leading our Aussie underdogs to the winner's circle for the first time in 20 years. April's stepping up at the last moment to make sure things went off without a hitch. Aussies left with even more to cheer about.
With us, our champion cheerleaders, April Jenkins and Cody Maxwell from the Prodigy team. This is like Inception. The cheerleaders are being cheered. Congratulations, you guys. How do you feel to be the world champs of cheer?
Oh, it's a pretty surreal feeling, especially when Australia's been trying for over 20 years to get the job done and failed, and then finally it all paying off.
God, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, it's so nice to have you guys here. Also, I was going to wear the same thing, so thank God I didn't. Now, April, you had to step in at the last minute. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, oh, my God.
So we compete at Nationals, and then you win a bid to go to Worlds at the end of the year. And the trip is all self-funded, so it's about $8,000. So one of the girls couldn't go, so I'm the coach of the team and I had to end up doing it.
Oh, sorry, how late did you know you were doing it?
It was a couple months in advance.
Oh, that's okay.
It's not ideal to coach the team.
It's a Stephen Bradbury moment, though, that at the last minute you stepped in, you took it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What I love about this, now, I don't know much about this sport, I have to admit. I assume the Americans are kind of the powerhouse. It's their thing.
They are very good,
All right. So was it great to go over onto American soil and this is like the America's Cup moment and you've just destroyed the Yanks at their own game?
Well, it's quite amazing to see how far Australia's actually come in the sport, because in the whole grand scheme of things, Australia's been in the sport like for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to see, like, at the moment, Australia's making their way up to the top.
What was America's reaction, though? Were they mad? Were they just like, oh, yeah, the Aussie team, and then they're like, oh,
everyone's super
boom.
grateful. Everyone's super amazing and great sports.
But no one expected us. Like, we were really the underdogs to take it out.
Give us a sense of how underdog. Like, what are we talking? How
like, they do like little prediction videos of who they think's going to win. We weren't in anyone's top 3.
Well, they'll take notice now, though.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
What do people get wrong about cheerleading?
There's like 2 types of cheerleading. So there's sideline cheerleading where you're cheering for another sport. So that's like pom-poms, chants, things like that for like football. And then there's all-star cheerleading, which is what we do. So we make like a routine, another team makes a routine, we compete against each other. And the highest score wins.
And Cody, how did you get into it and why did you stay with it?
So originally, like, I was a very athletic person growing up. So when I started high school, there was actually a kid in my class who used to do flips every lunchtime and PE class.
Everyone's got a flip kid.
Yeah. So I went up to this kid and I said, hey, man, can you please teach me how to flip? So we spent lunchtimes doing flips into the sandpit, and it was only a matter of time before he brought me into his cheerleading gym, and I just was hooked from there.
So it's basically a form of gymnastics from what I can tell. Like,
yes.
What was it that made you say, I'm going to do cheerleading as opposed to gymnastics or some other kind of similar?
Well, cheerleading's kind of like a limitless sport. I feel like there's always like a new skill you can learn or a new feat you can like overcome. And there's different elements of cheerleading as well. Like, I personally started with the tumbling. I love doing the flips. But then as I grew a little bit older, I got a little stronger, and then I found like a passion or a love for the stunting as well. So there's like a lot of different areas from cheerleading that you can progress at.
I mean, this is a proper sport, and now that you're world champs, do you think we might see this at, Brisbane 2032 Olympics?
We hope so. That would be great visibility for the sport, because it's the best thing to get your kids into. It's so good, like socially, and like for mental toughness, and
that's what I need. I've got to start doing it.
Be part of a team. Like, it's such a great sport.
Well, congratulations. Now, ordinarily I would just throw to the break and thank you, but it's a waste of your talent to do that.
Yes,
surely you can take us out in some more spectacular style.
Is that okay?
Can we do that?
Really? The project.
Sorry, Georgie, we've run out of time.
Oh, we've run out of time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. No, just kidding, just kidding. The latest Mission Impossible film is about to leave you absolutely breathless. But before it does, I set out on my own mission. Ask Tom Cruise if he's ready to say goodbye to a character he's played for 30 years.
Well, congratulations, because I chewed all of my nails off.
Did you? Let me
Edge of my
see.
seat, look.
Let me see.
Look at that.
Well done.
Honestly,
Good,
that was you. It was your fault in that submarine. I was literally going like this. It was breathtaking.
In a race against time and time again, Tom Cruise has made the impossible possible.
This can't all be true.
Ethan Hunt will be your point man as usual.
It's much worse than you think.
As field agent Ethan Hunt, Tom has climbed the tallest building in the world.
You're not helping.
Hung off the side of a couple of planes and always left us wanting more, giving us 8 Mission Impossible films across 30 years.
You gotta be kidding.
Now, in Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, the action hero to rule them all is still running circles around the bad guys.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
A lot of the action sequences, when you're coming up with them, are you there in a room with a whiteboard being like, we couldn't? Could we?
Normally, McHugh and I hear, you can't. You couldn't.
And we dream about things. I mean, we dreamed of making a submarine film, you know, for years.
Was that one of the hardest stunt sequences that you've ever done?
Kind of goes, oh, without question. No, without question.
Yeah.
It was, you know, we had to develop the mask, and companies that actually, there's technology, we're inventing technology when we're doing these movies. And it takes years of preparation. You know, I mean, one movie goes into the next. Like if you look at the aerial sequences that I've done and started all the way back from Top Gun, the very first Top Gun has an influence here. The underwater sequence goes all the way back to Legend, which was my very first underwater sequence. So different films, like what Disney did with Fantasia. Okay, that had a big effect on my storytelling. And Singing in the Rain, seeing Gene Kelly move, and how you can accomplish development of character and story through motion, through music. That's been my life. It's like I learned one thing here and then I take it to the next. Different kinds of forms of storytelling, different genres, and that is my life.
When you're training, have you ever been tempted to chuck on the Mission Impossible theme song?
I must have, definitely, because I love the Mission Impossible theme song. I mean, it's one of the reasons as a kid that I thought the concept of Mission Impossible and the theme music, that whole idea, kind of taking it from a Cold War TV series into a feature film, that was, yeah, so you gotta put it on. I mean, when I hear it on phones or different things, it's like it gets your blood going.
Well, good, because then the second part of this question is maybe imagine that when I show you this footage, because I saw recently Glenn Powell, one of your castmates and friends from Top Gun, said that you gave him advice that you've got to film yourself when you're running because you're never as cool as you think. My training has begun, Mr. Cruise.
Let's see. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Very nice with the arms and stepping. That's excellent.
How do we run like Tom Cruise? What do we need to do? What's the process?
I don't know.
There's more running in this one.
I know. I've always been a sprinter my whole life. Since I was a little kid, I've just wanted to run. And oh gosh, I remember when growing up and we'd get one pair of sneakers like for a year. You know, when I was a little kid, the feet are growing, and I would take it out, and immediately I felt like I can run faster. And I really was like, now I can run fast with these new shoes. Of course, I hit every mud puddle and puddle I could get into, and you know, the cuts and all of that. So it was something that I love the feeling of sprinting, the feeling of that wind going past my body and the speed of it. And it's just the joy of being able to use the body in that way and push it. I've always thought of a body as like a car. You know, it's something that I use to be able to communicate and move as an artist in different films. So and sprinting for me is a real joy.
The Kremlin bombing? In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him.
As a film nerd, I really appreciate all of the effort and the joy that you always put into every role. It hasn't disappeared.
You know what? It's expanded. Wow. It has not disappeared. It's the passion. I remember hoping and thinking as a kid. I remember on my first film, Taps, and thinking, I just want to do this the rest of my life at the level that I want to do it. And, you know, I'm saying to people, like, you have to just live life, and don't be afraid to be afraid. People ask me, are you afraid?
Yeah.
It's like,
because you should be.
Yeah, but there's things like even in life where I feel it, but I'm not afraid to feel it. I think that's the difference. I'm not afraid to be afraid. I'm not afraid to not know something and work on trying to figure out how to know it. I'm all in, you know? I'm all in as a friend, as a coworker, you know, as kind of, you know, attacking life, really. And it's okay to say, I don't know. You know, all my crew, when I'm working, they hear me. It's like they ask me questions or what's the answer. It's like sometimes it's like, I wish I knew. I don't know, but I will figure it out, you know, and we will figure it out together. That's, to me, that's what life is about. That's what movies are about. It's all of us together. It's not just me. Anytime anyone goes, well, your movie, on my crew, I'm like, listen, man. And it's not, you're here, right here with me. Sorry, buddy, but you know, ladies and gentlemen, you are responsible for this also. Yeah. We're together. We're a team.
But that's very Ethan Hunt of you.
Yeah, I know, it is. It is.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. This is recalling your destiny.
final is in the title, that word. Is this the last that we've seen of Ethan Hunt?
I don't want to ruin anything for any audience. This is a culmination of the last 30 years of making Mission Impossible in this story, but I'm not going to ruin anything. You're going to have to go see it. You got to just go see it.
And I think they will. Tom Cruise, what a pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Did you just fly in specifically for
Yes,
this? Well, thank you
yes,
very much.
I am here for you.
Thank you so much. And I am here for you.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Everyone else go home. Thank you.
Georgie skipped her mum's lamb roast to be there. Now listen, Sam wants to know, I want to know, your mum wants to know.
Yeah.
What's he smell like?
Honestly, the first thing that my mum asked was like, was there a fragrance coming from Tom Cruise? Could you identify it?
What did he smell
To
like?
be honest, I don't think my nose was engaged because I was too like, where am I? What's happening? So there was no discernible fragrance. Yes, yeah, but he smells like a movie star, I'll say that.
I would like to know how the running is going.
From me?
Yeah, you're still running.
Hey, how about, that's not a bad review,
No, but that was your start. But like, have you worked on any further motions?
No,
Are the arms
the
higher?
arms and the stepping, I haven't exactly
He's so
improved upon
intense,
that.
isn't he? Being in that room with him, and you got quite a good chunk of time with him. They couldn't wrap him up.
No, this was the thing. We sat down and we're allotted, you know, how these things work. You're allotted between, 5-10 minutes. We had 10 minutes and Tom was very, very generous with his time. We got wrapped twice and he said, no, do not worry about that.
Really?
Let us keep chatting.
If you had more
and it was
time,
great.
would you have done a 100-metre sprint?
Probably would have. Would have taken me that long. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is out in cinemas this Saturday. It is very, very good. I genuinely did bite all of my nails off. It was really good.
I reckon there'll be another one. You?
I hope so, yeah.
I reckon there will be. That's my guess. All right, that's it from us tonight. Stick around for MasterChef. We'll see you 6:30 tomorrow night. Bye-bye.